Welcome to our continuation of our Twine Peaks Storm Shield Defense building tutorials. Today we'll be doing Storm Shield Defense 2, where you'll be placing Amplifier A, and today I'm going to do building tutorial. So, you have a choice when placing your second amplifier. I would recommend choosing this amplifier. This is Amplifier A. I know it's a little bit overlapped by D in the background there, but this is the first amplifier I want you to place. The reason why we choose this one over B, well, the location where I have B, your other choice would be this amplifier over here. This amplifier is not incredibly hard to difficult, or not difficult. This isn't incredibly hard to defend, but what you will find is that when you first place it, the storm shield only goes out to, I think, right about here. So you don't really have a whole lot of space to build out if they attack from the west, which is a possibility, or God forbid they attack from the north. And of course there's this awful bluff that we just can't do anything with unless you have ceiling drop traps, but even then damage on ceiling drop traps is so insignificant that unless you really have them, you know, way over your level, they're not really going to do much. So it's an incredibly difficult amplifier to pre-build. And in regards to which amplifier you build first, it doesn't really matter in the first two. Towards the end of your storm shield defenses, neither of them will get attacked. So you really don't have to worry about, oh, if I place this one, then, you know, then I won't have to defend it later, but the other one will have to be defended. So this is the one you want to place, and I'm going to go through a very basic build, but also incredibly efficient and incredibly effective for what you want to do. And of course we see the very basic surround the atlas with, or surround the amplifier with metal, I should say. Typical waves for these ones are flingers, lobbers, and propane tanks. So you don't want to neglect your buffer shield on top of your amplifier, because odds are you're going to want to be down there stopping the propane tanks from entering your tunnels, and well, stopping as many as you can. And just allowing the larger zombies, the smashers and whatnot, to come through so that you could take care of them. Now, as far as traps go, we'll be using a small variety of traps. Gas traps, floor spikes, wall launchers. None of these have to be 130. I know I'm showing you 130s, but 106s are absolutely fine. Storm Shield Defense 2, I'd be surprised if you have higher than 82s even, unless you're really farming once you get into Twine Peaks. So 106s are absolutely fine, 82s are absolutely fine, especially if you have 82s with all blue perk rolls on them. Those are, you know, considered god rolls compared to legacy rolls. What I mean by legacy rolls is, you know, if you have an old trap, for instance the ceiling zapper, doesn't have any of the perks upgraded. Obviously you don't see the element there. Ceiling zapper shouldn't actually do nature damage. But those are legacy traps. That's not a god roll. A god roll legacy trap would be like this wall launcher here. It has triple reload and double impact and knockback. So these are god rolls, you know, the kind of the perfect rolls that you want on a certain trap. So for instance, wall dynamos have incredibly long reload, so if you have a god roll, you probably have at least one reload and maybe a couple crit chance, maybe a couple crit damages on them, maybe just damage overall. Maybe you just have full reload on them and you just reload constantly, you know. Whatever perks you may choose, if you put them to blue, generally considered god rolls, not a problem. We will use a little bit of electric fields, but for the most part it's just going to be wall launchers, floor spikes for this one, and with a few sparse outcroppings of gas traps. Oh, I broke my rule. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put everything to level 2 to kind of save on resources here and make it a little bit easier to tear down later. As some of you may or may not know, I've already soloed my Storm Shield Defense 10, hence all of my amplifiers are up there. Some of them are actually still built because they're outside the shield. You can almost see the structures over there. Anyways, So I'm going to put this to level 2. Obviously, when you do it yourself, you're going to want to take it all to level 3. If I leave anything at level 1, then I would advise don't take it to level 3. You could probably put it to level 2 tops, just so it survives the propane blast. This is a useless wall. Now this wasn't a build that I used for myself for Storm Shield Defense 2, but I did use it once I got up to Storm Shield Defense 10 when I soloed it. I found it was very effective, very kind on my resources compared to what I had beforehand. I'll get to putting traps later, but for the time being, just going to create very basic tunnels here. I think I'm probably going to adjust this for you guys just so you kind of get the general gist of it. As well, I just kind of thought of a more efficient method of it because I have the blueprint in my head, and I know the really big downside to this one was that in the later waves 7, 8, there was an absurd amount of propane tanks all the time, which obviously isn't very good for trap tunnels. In defenses 7, 8, 9, as well as 10, the amount of propane tanks is so absurd where if you lock in your trap tunnels, what'll happen is there's going to be so many propane tanks, there's going to be so many zombies that what am I trying to say here? That if they all tried to enter the tunnel at the same time, they would block each other. But that's only if you added this partition right here. So like, if you did it right, and I don't just mean like right at this location, I just mean in your trap tunnel, like if I put one here, here, as well as on the backside here, the zombies would gradually build up on that location eventually, right? You know, all it takes is a little bit of a blind spot in your trap's reload speed for them to build up there, as well as the trap damage not killing them fast enough. So, you know, they build up here and the propane standing behind all the zombies that are built up on that thing, trying to squeeze through it. And then suddenly the propane tank says, okay, I can't move forward, so I'm going to clear the path myself by throwing the propane tank at my feet. It's one of the annoying, very annoying, very annoying points that Fortnite has, but it's logical, right? So you don't want to enclose it too much. That's why we keep our tunnels open to an extent. All this to level 2.
Sorry.
These side walls here, very important. If you don't have them up, then what will happen is they'll just walk up and around. Then they'll start beating against the backside walls. I don't know why they do that instead of just walking down here. It's also why I left the backside open here. Right here. So just kind of influence their pathing a little bit more. For the most part, we'll be okay. There's a significant amount of lobbers and flingers that come from this direction, which is why I leave this open right here. And as well why I leave this open right here. So when you start the wave, you could easily solo it any difficulty. When you first start this, when you first place this amplifier, I should say, you should only be able to build right up to about here, if here at all, maybe the bottom of this hill. But this tunnel right here, perfectly more than enough to deal with anything that comes across, anything that you come across up until Twine, you know, 5 maybe. But by that time, you have more than enough room to start building out here. Everything's kind of settled down. More than capable of doing. Now what you do want to do, you want to add a door right here so that you can move around a little bit easier. Add a ceiling piece right there. And you want to add ceilings on top of here, or roofs I should say, little cones. Because there are lobbers and they will absolutely destroy the base if they see you in the trap tunnel. You just want to make sure that they don't. I'm going to put it to level 3. You could probably do level 2 if you're just going to sit all the way back in your tunnel. If you're really going to sit all the way back, I'd advise just not even putting one on, really. Now I add ceiling pieces here. For no specific reason, but I like to put a little bit of an electric field on those sides just in case they don't immediately path to me and they don't just start building up on a wall kind of thing. This one is useless, this corner piece here. If they drop down, we're going to put some dynamos on these walls. Just so if they drop down, they're not going to attack this wall. I don't know why they don't. I'm glad they don't, by all means, because if we stuck a dynamo on that wall, it wouldn't necessarily fire off. But as far as, you know, defending it goes, it's not the easiest. But they'll come and attack this one occasionally if it's too far to go all the way around. As far as these other walls, we'll get to defending them in just a moment here. So you got all your ceilings to level 2. You got... This wall doesn't need a door, so you don't need to put one there. You have easy access all around your base, right? So you come up here. You do want to put a ceiling piece right here. I'll get to explaining that in just a moment here after we level up our roof. The reason you want to put a ceiling piece right there is because if a flinger throws a zombie on the top of here, lobbers won't actually target this piece itself, so you don't need to put a roof on it. You can if you're feeling a little bit extra insecure. Not a big deal. If a flinger throws a zombie on this, however, they won't beat against this because, as you can tell, we've put 2 layers all around it. We have this initial wall as well as the wall behind it. Same with on the top. And if you have it all to level 3, the zombie is going to be incredibly deterred. So what they're going to do is they're going to drop down here. They're going to walk through here. And this is where the ceiling piece comes in handy, because if you don't have that ceiling piece, they're going to throw them down. They're going to jump onto here, come around here, and then, you know, it's a really short distance, especially if your traps are under leveled. But if you have that ceiling piece there, they'll drop down here, be forced to drop down here and walk through here, where you can then stick, you know, a wooden floor spike. You could even put a retractable floor spike if you really wanted to. A dynamo should be more than enough for most. And then if you really were feeling guilty about it, you could just stick a wall dart there, because whatever comes through this tunnel, you don't need to crowd control at this point. It's all about just ending them. So as far as that goes, we're going to start trapping that out now, I believe. As I said before, this is all about killing them. However, sometimes smashers will get through. Unavoidable. We're going to use 106s for this, simply because this is Storm Shield Defense 2. 106s are all that's needed. For those of you that watch my tutorial on 1, I did explain why I double up on my floor spikes. As well, you'll see why I double up on my gas traps everywhere. Add some extra pathing here and there. These long walls shouldn't be too much of a hindrance in terms of letting the zombies stack up. Put some wall darts. And then we're going to combo them with a much different activation time. You see 1 second there, but it takes 10.5 seconds to reload. If you don't have a reload on your wall dynamos, they take upwards of 12 seconds, whereas wall darts are about 5. Give or take, depending on your reload speed.
Can't.
So if you combo them together, it helps cut down the flak of the zombies, so you're not really dealing with them too much. You could put... That's an interesting texture. Oh, that's the stone. Okay, that's cool. I didn't know that would do that. You put gas traps here. Not a big deal. Anything that really comes through this is probably going to be a flinger or a blaster, so you don't really want to You could actually leave that open if you wanted to and just kind of use that as like a mode of transportation. Just be forewarned if you do use it as a mode of transportation. If you come over here, sometimes propanes will throw them at your back walls here. So generally just stand way back if you don't want propanes to throw them at you. Again, lots and lots of gas. I did put 130s there. I meant to put 106s. No big deal. Just a little bit of oxidized. We're going to put some ceiling zappers on the back side because, let's be honest, the only thing that's making it through here are smashers. So we really want to take care of them, which is why we're going to triple up on dynamos on these back walls. Now, for your first storm shield defense, which is obviously storm shield defense 2, when you build this amplifier, you really don't want to overload them on dynamos. Instead, I'd recommend doing a wall dart, and probably by the time you get to storm shield defense 3, your wall darts will have run out because they arm so fast. It's only a 5-second reload time. So you don't want to triple up on wall dynamos and then kind of lose out on taking out the flak of the enemy in your first couple tunnels. What I would recommend for your wall launchers though is have at least 40% reload speed on them. If there are 82s on your first storm shield defense, you're going to be versing I think 76 enemies or possibly even 78 enemies. But maybe one impact if you're keeping them at 82s, maybe two if you're versing 82 enemies. It's not a big deal, but it goes a long way. Again, we're going to put these elongated walls in here just to kind of make the zombies path a little bit more towards the wall launchers. It gives them a little bit extra chance to fire off with them on the square. And then, if they ever get down here, just let the wall launcher kind of push them back in. It's not too much of a difficult. I put a 130 here just because it's a long tunnel and I can. If you had a 106 with full legendary perk ups and a double impact / knockback on it, it would work just the same as a legacy 130. It'd push them back 3 squares, possibly 3.5. Probably right about here, 2.5 squares, give or take, which would be just enough into your trap tunnel. Exemplary work. The reason why, moving on, sorry, the reason why we put a stairs here, because in case you ever get a smasher wave, those stairs will act as a deterrent for them to run at it. So if you notice when you do a defend the Atlas build and you build the pyramid, right, you build these slanted walls. If a smasher charges at it, they'll run up the walls and over it. But if you do it backwards, I guess they view it as, they can't run over it, they would run underneath it, which they can't do, so they don't do it. So, not a big problem. We're all happy about it, so that's fine. We're gonna get that all sorted out. Now, last thing you want to do when you're over here is start preparing for an attack from the south. And your storm shield might not reach out this far, that's fine. Just, reach what you can over here, and what you basically want to do... Put those backwards. You just want to block this off as much as you can, because when they come from the south, there is a way that they could come up right here. And it's always annoying when you're standing at the top of your hill shooting down at the zombies coming up, or if you're Ninja Dragon slashing and there's some blasters standing over here just blasting you, and you can't really help it. The spawn generally spawns all the way over there as well as all the way over here, so sometimes they just pass that way and it's unavoidable, right? You don't have enough storm shield to come out here and build all the way out here, so you can't build like a vanguard defense here, which is not a problem. You might be able to reach the bottom of this hill, but if you just do something like this, no problem, right? Again, in case of smashers, you do want some walls here. I'm going to put them back to back so that I don't have to impede that wall launcher. I'm going to add some walls in between. And what I mean by impede that wall launcher is if a smasher comes up this hill, if he doesn't see a stairs or a backward stairs on that wall launcher or in between him and that wall launcher, what he's going to do is he's going to start charging at it, right? And any of these walls, he's going to start charging. That's not really an issue so much in the early levels, but it is an issue later on. So what we want to do is, if he gets to the top of the hill, he's in charging range already. But because of these stairs now, he's no longer in charging mood, I should say. So what we're just going to do here, very simple. We're going to push them off the cliff. Because, I mean, why not, right? We're also going to create a small amount of ceilings. We're going to do our floors out of stone. Not a big deal. Now, this is a little bit complicated. If you have 106s or if you have 82s with, blue rolls all over, your wall launcher should be able to knock them at least 2 squares by now. Into Twine Peaks, you should be reaching the 2 square wall launcher or floor launcher limit. What I mean by that is, if you have a regular wall launcher, you notice they knocked them like right here, right? Level, God, I forget the level of the traps back then. Before 82 was, I don't even remember, 62, maybe? No, it's usually 24, which would put it at 58, I believe. Anyways, so you get up to 82, you probably notice the slight difference, maybe here. You get up to 106s, they're back here, right? So you want to launch them again, and then finally they'll be launched off. If you have fully legendary perk ups, you could probably just stick one 106 on here, and he'd be launched 2.5 squares away off the cliff. No problem. But I remember my days, plus I still have legacy 106s, so I know the struggle. Nope, that's not what I want. So for now, I'm going to just show you the little bit more complicated, a little bit more structures, but again, if you invest in your wall launchers more than I have, you will absolutely be able to knock them off the cliff in one wall launcher. As far as perk up goes, everything's expensive, so I am biding my time. Just in case smashers are very persistent, I want to start causing affliction damage to them. Put a zapper there just in case. And we're going to start trapping up the hill here. Nothing too complicated, nothing too fancy. You could use a boatload of ceiling drop traps, because ceiling drop traps have, the three tile drop radius, and it becomes really effective at this height. But again, as far as Storm Shield goes, you probably can't build farther than this. You probably can't even build this bottom layer, which is absolutely fine. As long as you can build on the hill, you have more than enough to cover most of the wave. Gas trap, gas trap. I have a bad habit of putting my 130s down instead of my 106s that I just made. That's fine by me though. Again, you want to put all this to level 2. Especially these buffer stairs. You do get considerable amounts of lobbers sometimes, and you just don't want to deal with it. So we're going to put a lot of stairs on top. Really deal with everything. And you'll notice I did do this in my Twine Peaks Storm Shield Defense 10 for my final Amplifier G over there. And it saved me a world of hurt with lobbers, even just these simple ones. You could leave them at level 1, level 2, level 3 even. I would recommend at least level 2. After that, it's really your own saving grace. This is useless. These you want to upgrade because smashers will pass them.
Wish I could.
And they will destroy it if it's really weak.
Whew.
So the reason why we put this here is, if you remember right, we have these backward stairs on this side, so the smasher won't actually charge at those ones. However, they will charge at this if they don't see something here. But they won't actually go underneath this if you don't put this wall right here. And then we're just a pièce de resistance. We're just gonna maybe add another thing here. And not worrying about this side. They won't really path around here, especially if they get all this way. If they get past these two. Oh, that reminds me, I gotta put something here. Upgrade these. But if they get past these last two wall launchers, floor launcher will probably take them out. But as far as Amplifier A goes, favorite Canadian amplifier, it is all built. You're only going to get attacked from the south for a little bit until you build Amplifier E. I didn't even get attacked too much from the south, to be honest with you. I think I defended a couple times. I was, you know, maybe one, and then again on 3, and then by 6 I had just placed E, so everything else came from the east side here, and I really didn't have to worry about the south. So you don't have to worry about trapping it out extensively. That's why we put a lot of those wall launchers. Now there's a new quote-unquote thing in Fortnite where if you knock them off, it doesn't really count as a kill.
Let's build.
So that's why we want to put gas traps extensively here, and it's not a bad thing to knock them off, because they're just going to be knocked off down here, and then they're just going to come back up again. It's just it helps you bottleneck the flow, I should say, because this particular direction to the south spawns a lot of flingers, and you absolutely cannot let that build up. Sorry, I gotta multitask here. But what's gonna happen is they're gonna toss flingers, and for the sake of this, I'm just gonna build the stairs. Well, you don't need to build that stairs there. You're gonna toss zombies, and the zombies are gonna be tossed off right here, because they're not gonna path to this wall, because the stair for some reason blocks regular zombies too, so I'm not worried about that. You're gonna knock them back down, the zombies are gonna come back around. These should be level 3 as well as everything above it. So they're gonna path all the way around, and then you're gonna get more zombies. So whatever zombies are knocked off down here and that don't count as kills and then have to come all the way back up again, you're not gonna have to worry about it, because you're still gonna be getting just as much flow, because you could just sit back and watch the flingers throw zombies into your tunnels. It's gonna be amazing. They're throwing zombies into the kill count. If you get propane tanks, 110% stand way back. This is, you know, trust in your trap tunnel, trust in the build itself. You know your traps better than anybody if you can trust them. So you could just stand way back if you wanted to. If you're doing this with a couple buddies, I mean, honestly, you could build just, you know, these two gas traps with the wall launchers, and it should be more than enough to hold them. While you guys do like a vanguard defense, you know, if you have a couple dragon scorches, you want to ninja slash through the spawn, you want to, you know, smoke bomb, you want to have a soldier on the cliff firing rockets underneath, you know, a demolitionist penny base, by all means. Like the first couple waves, very easy, not very complicated. However, once you get into Twine Peaks Storm Shield Defense, you know, 5, 6, 7, obviously 8, 9, and 10, you'll find you really do need these extra defenses just to kind of funnel them in. These got to be leveled up. Again, this whole side wants to be put to level 3 across the board. If you really wanted to be cool about it, you could stick some wall darts there. You could even put a dynamo on the outside here, because they do path from a little bit down here, and they'll just come all the way up, beelining it, and then right about here is where the dynamo will aggro and then start setting off. So there's more than enough zombies to aggro that. This side, this entire tunnel, you probably won't be able to build on your first storm shield, so it's not a problem. Come back on your storm shield defense 3, maybe even 4. Build this up. It's incredibly useful. Don't neglect this side piece here, because they will path around it and then beat against your tunnel and then backdoor you. They could even come all the way up here and backdoor you, so it's not something you want to neglect. You could even put a path there just so that they drop down here, maybe go on the roof, maybe come all the way around. You know, if a flinger throws a way off course, but if you're standing over there, that's why your path or your positioning really matters. You don't want to stand away from it. You don't want to stand over here where the flinger's going to throw zombies at you, because then they're going to land here and then they're going to beat against this, right? I mean, you could throw dynamos on the backside here, but then one day you're going to have to destroy those walls to get those structures back, because you don't need dynamos on it. If you want to stand to the side, stand to this side. If they throw it at here, then they're just going to drop down here, hit this dynamo, come around here, be hit by wall darts, come around here, if they even make it this far, be hit by another dynamo and ceiling zappers, which is a little bit overkill for regular zombies, even husky husks, because they're meant to take out smashers. So just keep in mind your positioning when doing these storm shield defenses. Will really affect the pathing of the zombies, as well as any flingers too. Alright guys, that is the full tutorial on Twine Peaks Storm Shield Defense 2. We've placed our Amplifier A, we've built it up to the east and to the south. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.